If you've watched this channel for any length of time, you know I'm not afraid to call Disney out. The pricing, the loss of Magical Express, the add on economy, the bubble with holes in it. I've said all of it, and I mean every word. But honesty goes in both directions. Because for everything Disney has gotten wrong in the last few years, there is a list of things that they get so extraordinarily right that the rest of the theme park industry hasn't even come close to touching them. Things that don't get talked about because they're not controversial. Things that don't generate clicks because they're not complaints. Today, I want to talk about those things. I'm Lee with All About the Duck, and I went to Disney World for the first time in 1992. I was newly married, had just moved from Thibodaux, Louisiana, where I had just finished college, and just moved to New Orleans, Louisiana, to start my first real job. I grew up in Cutoff, Louisiana, and that matters because it was a small town life. Simple, good, and very far removed from anything that looked like Cinderella's castle. My wife had been to Disney a couple of times as a kid, but for me, it was completely new. We didn't stay on property, we couldn't afford it. We stayed at a Motel 6 off of International Drive. The bathtub barely drained, and the door only stayed shut if you bolted the deadbolt. And none of that mattered because we were at Disney from rope drop to fireworks almost every single day of that trip. And it was one of the best weeks of my life. I didn't fully understand why until later, but something happened to me that week that I've spent the last 30 years trying to put into words. I felt like the world had gotten bigger. That's what Disney did. And in the right moments, it still does. Now, from the moment a cast member says, "Welcome home" at my DVC resort to the moment I drive off property, I can completely exhale. The real world doesn't exist for a little while. That feeling, that ability to fully disconnect, for me that's everything. So when I tell you this channel is honest, I mean it in both directions. We call out what Disney gets wrong, and today we're talking about what they get profoundly right. The things nobody talks about, the things that explain why a kid from a small town in Louisiana has been going back for over 30 years and still feels something when he walks through those gates. Let's start with the people, because no matter what else changes at Walt Disney World, the foundation of what Disney built has been the people who show up every day and make it work. Disney cast member training program is genuinely one of the most sophisticated in the hospitality industry. Every cast member, from the person who greets you at the gate to the housekeeper who turns down your bed, goes through Disney's traditions training before they ever work a single shift. They learn the history of the company, the philosophy behind the guest experience, and the expectation that every interaction matters. The result is a consistency of experience that is almost impossible to replicate it at scale. You're dealing with tens of thousands of employees across dozens of locations, and the baseline of professionalism and warmth holds across almost all of them. Is every interaction perfect? No. But compared to almost any other theme park or resort, it is noticeably more intentional. Walt understood that people were the product, and that understanding still lives in this organization in a way that's genuinely remarkable. Next is Disney's attention to the detail in storytelling. Here's one that most guests experience without ever consciously registering it, and that's exactly the point. Disney builds worlds, not rides, surrounded by buildings, not attractions connected by pathways, actual worlds. And the storytelling detail that goes into those worlds is so thorough that it operates on you subconsciously, even when you're not paying attention. The music changes as you cross from one land to the next, not abruptly, but gradually. So by the time you're fully inside the new area, the soundscape has already shifted to match. The smells change. Main Street smells like fresh baked goods and vanilla. Adventureland has a green, humid quality that puts your brain in the jungle before your eyes catch up. The queue lines at Disney are fully realized environments. The line at Haunted Mansion tells a story before you ever go on the Doom Buggy. The queue for Flight of Passage at Kingdom contains artwork and research journals and an entire fictional organization that exists only to make the world of that ride feel real. Most guests wait in line staring at their phones. The guests who look up, who actually read the signs and examine the artifacts and listen to the ambient audio, are experiencing something that took years of work by some of the most talented designers in the world. Number three, transportation as an experience. Here's something the theme park industry has largely never figured out. Disney turned getting to the park as part of the vacation. The monorail at Magic Kingdom isn't just a way to move people. It's an experience that signals the moment you board that something different is about to happen. You're gliding past the contemporary, you're circling the transportation and ticket center, and then you bank around the curve and Cinderella's castle appears through the window, and your brain makes a transition that no parking lot walk-in can replicate. The ferry crossing from the transportation center to Magic Kingdom is completely unnecessary from a logistics standpoint. Disney could move more people faster with buses. They keep the ferry because the act of crossing the Seven Seas Lagoon on a boat, watching the castle grow larger as you approach, is part of the arrival story. Walt designed it that way deliberately. The Skyliner is the most recent example. A gondola system that connects Pop Century and Art of Animation to Epcot and Hollywood Studios and turned what would have been a bus ride into one of the most pleasant transportation experiences on property. Guests ride it multiple times just for the experience of riding it. Other parks move people. Disney transports them. The distinction sounds small, but it isn't. Number four, how they handle children. Walt Disney was very specific about one thing when he designed Disneyland. It needed to be a place adults and children could enjoy together, not a place adults tolerated for their kids, a place designed for both of them. That philosophy is alive in every corner of Walt Disney World in ways that most parents don't consciously recognize until they experience a park that doesn't have it. A height requirement that seems frustrating are actually carefully calibrated so that the vast majority of children can experience the vast majority of the park. The character meet and greet system, whatever its limitation, gives children a physical, real world interaction with characters they love that exists nowhere else. Cast members are trained to get on a child's level, literally and figuratively, in a way that makes kids feel genuinely seen. The attractions themselves are designed with children in mind in a way that are technically sophisticated. The pacing of Haunted Mansion is calibrated to be scary but not traumatizing. Big Thunder Mountain is thrilling but approachable. The dark rides in Fantasyland tell stories at a pace and sensory level that works for a 4 year old. Disney thinks about children differently than any other park, not as small adults who need to be managed, but as guests whose experience is just as important as everyone else's, probably more. Number five, cleanliness. Walt Disney was famously obsessed about cleanliness. He placed trash cans every 30 steps at Disneyland because he timed how long it took a person to finish eating a hot dog and calculated where they would be and when they'd be ready to discard the wrapper. That's the level of thinking. Walt Disney World is tens of thousands of acres, hosting tens of millions of guests per year, and it is consistently, remarkably clean. Not hotel lobby clean, genuinely throughout the park clean. The overnight cleaning operation at Disney is something most guests never see. Entire sections of the park are deep cleaned, repainted, and restored while guests sleep. There are cast members whose entire job is walking the parks looking for things that need attention. The standard is not clean enough. The standard is would Walt approve? Number six, the music. And I think it's one of the most underappreciated things Disney does. The music at Walt Disney World is omnipresent and it is extraordinary. Not background music, intentional, composed, curated, soundscapes that exist to make you feel something specific in every location you enter. Mainstream USA plays turn of the century American music that creates a specific nostalgic warmth. Before you have ever seen the castle, the World Showcase at Epcot plays the music of each country as you move through. And the transitions between pavilions are designed so the music from one country fades out as the next ones fade in, creating a seamless sonic journey around the world. The nighttime spectaculars, the fireworks, the Epcot shows, the illuminations we've already mourned on this channel are all built around original compositions that are as sophisticated as anything you would hear in a concert hall. The Epcot Forever score, the Wishes theme, the Illuminations finale. These are all pieces of music that have genuinely moved millions of people to tears in a theme park. Disney understands that music bypasses the rational mind and goes straight for the emotional one. They've always understood that, and they invest in it accordingly in a way that almost no other entertainment company matches. Number seven, they still believe in the magic. And this is the one I want to end on because it's the hardest to quantify and the most important to say. After everything that's changed, the pricing, the app, the loss of the Magical Express, the bubble with holes in it, Disney still believes in what they're doing. Not as a marketing position, as an actual operating philosophy. You see it in the Imagineers who spend years building a queue that most guests will walk through staring at their phones. You see it in the cast members who spots a child crying in the middle of Fantasyland and takes 5 minutes out of their day to turn it all around. You see it in the overnight crews who repaint and restore so that the park looks fresh every single morning. You see it in the music that was composed not because it was required, but because someone believed it would make the experience better. Disney is a corporation. It makes corporate decisions. We've talked about those decisions on this channel quite a bit, and we'll keep talking about them, honestly. But underneath the corporation is something Walt built, a genuine belief that people deserve a place where the world works the way it should, where things are beautiful and clean and kind and intentional, where the details matter because the people experiencing them matter. I still think about that kid from Cutoff, Louisiana, staying in a Motel 6 with a door that wouldn't close right, walking through the great gates of Magic Kingdom for the first time and feeling the world got bigger. Because Disney didn't care where I came from. It didn't care that I wasn't staying at the Grand Floridian. It didn't matter that I had to save up for that trip. The moment I walked through those gates, I got the same experience as everyone else. The same music, the same castle, the same feeling. That's what Disney gets right that nobody talks about. Not the rides, not the technology, the fact that they build something that works on everyone. regardless of where they started. And after more than 100 visits, it still gives me a little bit of that feeling when I walk through those gates. A little bit like the world just got a little bigger. That's not nothing. In fact, in 2026, that might be everything. Disney gets a lot right. They also get things wrong. And we'll keep calling those out when they deserve it, because that's what this channel's for. But I never want it to be the channel that only tears things down, because the truth about Walt Disney World isn't that it's perfect. It's that it's the most sustained, most intentional, most deeply felt attempt at creating something genuinely magical that the entertainment world has ever produced. And that deserves to be said out loud too. Tell me in the comments, what's the one thing that Disney does that you think gets overlooked? The thing that you notice every time you're there that never gets talked about. I read every comment, and I have a feeling this one's going to surprise me. Like and subscribe so you don't miss what's coming next on the channel. And as always, see you real soon.